Hello, second grade mathematicians. This is Miss Taylor, and we're going to look at some review activities for today. But my daughter Sophia wanted to say hi. I'm going to back up a little, honey. Say hi.
Hi.
Maybe I should say hi too. All right. Let's see, where do we need to look? Oh, that is a bright light. Ooh.
Not for me.
All right. So Sophia's doing a little bit of work. For her, she's doing a little project about Japan, so she's going to work on that. So anyway, we are going to do a little bit more review. This is kind of our last real assignment for this year. Tomorrow, I think we'll just do some little games, and I'm going to show you what you can look at for the rest of the summer if you would like. But today is really our last. This will be our last real video with a little bit of instruction in it for math. So we have one more of our little review activities. This is a really good one. It's got lots of different things. You can see it has time. It has a bar graph here. It has some word problems. It has a whole bunch of mixed review. There's some multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So this would be a really good one for us to practice. So like usual, we have a lot of problems up here at the top. I would encourage you to pick one column. So you don't need to do all of these, but maybe just pick one column to practice. So why don't we go ahead, let's practice this middle column. And the first one says 311 plus 689. So you can use a piece of paper or a whiteboard, whatever works for you to practice. 311 plus 689. We'll line those up. 9 plus 1 is 10. We're going to have to rename that. Keep making your picture, honey. 8 plus 2 is another 10. We'll rename that. 6 plus 3 is 9. Plus 1 more is 10. Ooh, we've got to rename that. So we have 1,000. So that's kind of fun. And when we have 1,000, when we have 3 zeros here, we put a little comma. So next year in third grade, you are going to practice adding digits in the thousands. Most of second grade, we've been sticking with the hundreds, but that's something to look forward to in third grade. Ooh, you're going to probably add thousands and probably tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. Ooh, that'll be exciting. Alrighty, so I should mention when you're adding, so here, what we just did here, if you wanted to, so we had 6 plus 3, and that was 900, plus 1 more is 1,000, and 10 hundreds is the same as 1,000. So you could rename it like we did, put the 1 here and the 0 here, and then carry the 1, bring the 1 down, or you could just do this, because we know we don't have any here. So 1,000. Ooh, all right. Let's try the next one we have in this middle column here, 306 minus 98. Ooh, I think we're going to have to do some renaming here. So I start in the ones place. We always start in the ones place. We always start at the top. 6 minus 8. We can't do that. Got more on the floor. We have to go next door and get some more. Oh dear. There's nothing here. So remember, when we don't have any in the tens place, we have to bump over here to the hundreds place. All right, and Miss Taylor usually stops and I say, do I still have 306? And you all say, yes, no, maybe, right? All right, so let's check. I have 200s, that's 200. I have 10 tens, and 10 tens is the same as 100. And then I still have 6. So do I still have 306 here? Yes. Now, the common mistake that a lot of people make is they go ahead and they say, oh, I'm going to make this a 2, make this a 10, make this a 16. Ooh, is that correct? Well, let's check it out. Now we'd have 200 here. 10 tens is 100. And now we've given this a 16. Whoops. I mean that. Okay. Do I still have 306? No, because we can't do this yet. Remember, we can't just find a 10 in the air and jump up and catch it. So we can't do that yet. This cannot become a 16 yet. And the reason I showed you that is because that is probably the most common mistake that we make in second grade is we see that there's a 0 here, we make this a 2, we make this a 10, and we jump right over and make this a 16. But we can't make that a 16 until we rename it again. So this becomes a 9, this becomes a 16. Now we can do it because now we would have 290, because this is 200, this is 90 plus 16. And if we do it this way, then we still have 306. So that is the same as 306. Now we can subtract. 16 minus 8 is 8, because I know 8 plus 8 is 16. 9 minus 9 is 0. 2 minus nothing, I could put a 0 there, is 2. All right, remember to check our work. We can go ahead and add the two parts together. So if I wanted to check, I could add this answer and this answer, these two parts, and I should hopefully get 306. 8 plus 8 is 16. 9 plus 1 is 10. 2 plus 1 is 3. And there we go. That's our whole number. Alrighty. So let's move on to the next one. 3 times 4. Ooh, what's that, students? Did you say 12? Nice job. And if we know 3 times 4 is 12, what's 12 divided by 3? 4. Very good. It's all works together as a fact family. What about 12 divided by 4? That would be 3. Nice work, students. All right, let's look at a couple of these together. So we have some word problems here. If I were you, I would pick 1 or 2 of them maybe to try doing all of our steps for our word problems. That would also help you to prepare for 3rd grade if you thought about, how am I going to help myself get ready for 3rd grade? Well, one way is by practicing all the steps for word problems. So maybe pick one of these. Like there are a lot of problems here. Pick 1 or 2 and go through all of our steps. So why don't we try, let's try, how about this one? Let's try number 6. Oops, I'm frozen here. Let's see if it gets back. Just a sec here. So, let me see. I seem to be frozen here. I'm frozen. Let it go. Let it go. Let's see. I'm gonna unfreeze here. Hello. Let's see. I have to pause us here. Alrighty, I think we are back. So my Elmo kind of froze up for a minute, but I think we are back in action. All right. So like I was saying, if I were you, I would pick maybe 1 or 2 problems to practice solving one of these with all of our steps. So I thought we could quickly look at one of these together. Maybe we'll look at number 6 here. So the first step is we read the problem. We underline the question. We're just going to kind of underline it in our minds. We're going to write an answer sentence. All right, so number 6 says, a water tank can hold 250 liters of water. It has 185 liters of water in it now. How many more liters of water are needed to fill up the tank? All right, so we're going to underline the question right there. Okay. And then let's write our answer sentence. So, how many more liters of water are needed to fill up the tank? So we could say blank more liters are needed to fill up the tank. All right, so we've got our answer sentence there. We'll draw our 2 lines to separate. Okay, then we're going to identify the who and the what. So I think we're just talking about some water, some liters of water. So it doesn't say that they belong to anyone. So we'll just call them, we have some liters of water that are in a tank. All right. So that is our step 2. We identified the who and or the what. And here we just have a what. Step 3 is to draw a unit bar. Fancy name for a rectangle. So there's our unit bar. Looks like that. All right. Step 4, we're going to reread the problem, adjust and chunk our unit bar, fill in the info. All right. So let's look back at our problem. A water tank can hold 250 liters of water. So that's kind of the total capacity, 250 liters of water. It has 185 liters of water in it now. So it has some liters in it now. How many more liters of water are needed to fill up the tank? So here they have given us the whole number, and that is the total capacity. I'm going to do that cursive L, that's for liters. The total capacity of the tank is 250 liters. It has, I'm going to chunk my unit bar, it already has 185 liters. And we're trying to find out how many more liters are needed to fill up the tank. In other words, 185 plus something is going to equal the total capacity. So here we are trying to find a missing part. And to find a missing part, we are going to subtract. So over here, I'm going to show my computation. I'm going to work the computation here. 250 minus 185. All right, we always start in the ones place. We always start at the top. 0 minus 5. Oh, we can't do it. Let's go next door and get some more. Make this a 4. Make this a 10. Do I still have 250 at the top here? Now I have 240 plus 10. 240 plus 10 is 250. So yes, we haven't changed the number. We're just renaming it. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 8. Wait a second. If I only have 4, I can't take away 8. I'm going to have to rename again. This becomes a 1. This becomes a 14. All right, 14 minus 8. 6. 1 minus 1 is nothing. You could put a 0 there if that helps you. Let's go over here and think about, would that make sense? Cross this off. 65 more liters to fill up our tank. I think that looks about right, but let's go ahead and check. Now we have our 2 parts, and our 2 parts together, in other words, these, if I add these together, we should get our total number. So 5 plus 5 is 10. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 6 is 15, and check. We've checked our work. And we go ahead and fill in our answer sentence. 250 more liters are needed to fill up the tank. And then the very last step is to think about, does our answer make sense? So that is our very last. We filled in the answer, check to make sure it makes sense. And 250 more liters are needed to, wait a second. Does my answer make sense? Ooh, wait a second. Now 250 was the capacity, but that's not our answer, is it? Ooh, good thing I almost went on. I almost forgot to do that last step. So we figured the right answer, but Miss Taylor put the wrong one in our answer sentence. Okay. Should be 65 more liters. Ah, that makes sense. Ooh, good thing I did this very last step. I almost just moved right on. So 65 more liters are needed to fill up the tank. All right. Nice work, second graders. So like I said, I would really encourage you to maybe just pick 1 or 2 of these problems to try to do all of our steps, and that would really help you. Good practice for us to do all those steps, very prudent, and help us to be prepared for 3rd grade. Alrighty, I'm going to jump down to, let's see, I'm going to let you kind of look over these, and you can check your work with my answers. So I will get a picture of my answers to help you. I wanted to look at this picture of the clock here. There's 3 clocks actually. And you'll notice that part of each of these are shaded. Number 11A says, what fraction of an hour is 15 minutes? So here, looks like the time is 4:15. And when the minute hand is pointing at the 3, that's 15 minutes. And you'll notice it kind of looks like a fraction, doesn't it? So it sort of looks like this part is shaded in. So there's that 15-minute chunk, and 15 minutes is 1 part out of 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 4 equal parts. So 15 minutes is 1/4 or 1/4 of an hour. And that's why when we have like 4:15, we say 4:15 or 4:15. What fraction of an hour is 30 minutes? And you'll notice the one that has 30 minutes. So the minute hand is pointing to the 6. Starts at the 12, it goes halfway around. So this one, 30 minutes, is 1 part out of 2 equal parts. So it's 1/2. And then the last one here, it says how many minutes are there in 3/4 of an hour, also called 3/4 of an hour. Ooh. So that's what 3/4 or 3/4 looks like. How many minutes would that be with the long hand on the 9? Ooh, we can multiply 9 times 5. Did you say 45? Nice job. All right. So a little practice with some fractions. Let's see. Let's take a look at the last one we'll look at for today, number 15. It says this graph shows the number of vehicles in a parking lot. Okay, so we will see that this is a bar graph, and it's a vertical bar graph going up and down. And then along the side here, this is the number of vehicles. And along the bottom, these are the different kinds of vehicles. How many more vans than buses were there? So we're going to compare how many more vans than buses. And when we're trying to compare and find how many more, how many less, we're going to subtract. So we can see the van, the bar is higher. So the van, there were 30 vans. And how many buses? Let's see. Buses. Ooh, and this one comes right between the 10 and the 20. And so I know there's a number right between 10 and 20 because the difference here is 10. So this one must be 15. So halfway between these two would be 15. So I know there are 15 buses in the parking lot. So 30 minus 15 would be 15. All right, so 15 more vans than buses. Part B, if there were 90 spaces for cars and vans, how many of them were not occupied? And that means no one was there. If there were 90 spaces for cars and vans, how many of them were not occupied? Well, let's see. Here's cars and vans, and we already figured out that there's 30 vans. So 30 vans plus how many cars? Let's see, right between the 40 and the 50, that would have to be 45. So 45 cars plus 30 vans. Let's see, 45 plus 30. 5 plus 5. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 3 is 7. So there were 75 altogether. But it says if there were 90 spaces, sort of like 90 spaces available for cars and vans, how many of them were not occupied? So it looks like they were using 75 of them, and there were 90 spots available. So that means that some of them were not occupied. So we can think about, well, 75 plus another 10, that would be 85, and another 5 would be 90. So that means that 15 spaces would not be occupied. We could also do it this way. We could say, well, 90 spots were available, but people were only using 75. And we could figure it out this way. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 8 minus 7 is 1. There were 15 15 spots are not being used, not occupied. And the last one here, what is the difference? Ooh, difference, subtract, between the greatest number of one type of vehicle and the smallest number of another type of vehicle. So we want to look for the tallest bar. There it is. 45 minus the smallest bar. And that would be 15. So let's see, 45 minus 15. Can we use mental math for that one? 45 minus 15. Did you get it? I've got it. I think it's 30. Is it 30? I think so. All right. Nice work, second graders. So we're going to pause here for today. Like I said, today, this is kind of our last video while we'll look at some textbook pages together. And then tomorrow, I'll just kind of show you some things you could work on for the summer. And let's see, our homework for today in our workbook is Review 14. Starts on page 162. And it goes to page 165. Ooh, 165. This would be a really good spot for you to do your steps of the word problem, trying some unit bars and checking your answers. All right, so good work today. And let me know if you have any questions. And I will see you again tomorrow. All right. Have a great rest of your day, students.